dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to the Warframe video. So it sure is a beautiful day outside today. Sun is shining, birds are chirping, it's just so nice. You know what I like to do on days like today? Talk about the Eximus Rework. So I put out a poll on YouTube a week ago at this point, asking for your opinions and the community's opinion on the Eximus Rework, because it is pretty all over the place, I'd say. Depending where you are in the game, your understanding of the game, or just how much you care about tryharding in Warframe, you can have very varying opinions on the current Eximus Rework. If you don't know what the Eximus Rework is, we've had plenty of videos on it, but basically they got CC immunity and some overhealth. The CC immunity is only active while that big overhealth health bar is going, and while that health bar is active, like I said, no CC, but damage skills still work, and like armor removal and other things like that still work on them. Additionally, the Eximus have a lot crazier abilities. If you watch my Inaros video from yesterday, big fire pillar blasting Inaros like 30 minutes into survival. So yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to go over your points of view on it that you posted, and also I'm going to give my suggestions on how I would change the Eximus Rework, because I definitely think there's ways you could go about making this more accessible, because you got to remember, that overhealth thing I was just telling you about, that is actually active for new players too. So if you're on Earth, if you're like a brand new player on Earth, you're dealing with this stuff too. So before we get into it, make sure you're subbed to the channel and all that. Make sure you check out the live stream channel as well. We'll be live later tonight, testing out some other stuff in Warframe, and I'm probably going to do a variety game tonight as well. So if you want to come vote on what game we play, got plenty, I think like 3 options, so we'll have to decide. All right, so we'll get some Steel Path Void Cascade gameplay in the background, and let's bring up the poll. Okay, so this was posted, it was posted like 5 days ago, so a little bit under a week, but yeah, let's take a look at what we got here. So we had 8.3 thousand votes, and out of these, so the question on the poll was, do you like the Eximus Rework? Basically, that's how I put it. Do you like the Eximus Rework? And most people voted they were mixed feelings on the Eximus Rework. And then 27% of people voted it was good, 9% of people said it was bad, so overall bad, and then, yeah, like I said, 54% said mixed. Over half the amount of people said it was mixed feedback for it. And so, and then 10% of people said, is mayonnaise an Eximus? And I just said comment below for that. So we're going to go over the most popular or most upvoted responses, and then we'll probably pick and choose a couple in between, seeing what people's point of view is on this, because on one hand, it's like, okay, we finally have some, and I've been asking for like mini bosses and stuff in these survival missions for the longest time, and it just didn't feel like it was ever going to happen, and these Eximus pretty much are the mini bosses we wanted in, or at least I wanted in survivals. Now, they're not as, to be honest, I think they could still be more difficult personally, but, you know, it's better than nothing, so I appreciate that. So let's get into these responses. Also going to make this a little bit smaller so you guys can see the gameplay a little bit better. All right, some Fenmore gameplay, Fenmore video on the way. All right, so the first response here is from The Lime. And they say, one of the biggest bonuses is more affinity on a regular basis and having something challenging to face an enemy. But a lot of other times, it's just nuking what's left of my eyesight after playing this game, especially on bosses like the Profit Taker. Status procs and visual noise makes it difficult. So, like I said, they added new abilities to these Eximus units, and if you didn't know this, Eximus spawn rate goes up over time in endless missions, and people keep saying Profit Taker, so maybe there's a bunch of Eximus and Profit Taker I haven't noticed, but Profit Taker already is a fight that's very visually busy in the first place, so, yeah, I can agree with that. It's pretty hard to see sometimes when the Eximus really start spawning a bunch. So maybe they could tone that down a little bit. Even with me, with effects intensity turned down to 0, it's like, it can be kind of hard to, when there's like 3 or 4 Eximus nearby each other, it can be really hard to see. So I feel like DE should probably get that under control, especially when I have 0 effects intensity and it's still kind of hard to see. I can't even imagine like normal effects intensity and like high effects intensity. You got a Kuva Ogress going, you got Eximus Fire Blast, you got Eximus like Fire Pillars, Lightning. So yeah, definitely something to keep in mind. So they say they appreciate enemies that aren't just, you know, generic fodder enemies. Like, look at this gameplay in the background. These are all just fodder, you know? Like, this is how it was before the change. if I see an Eximus, I'll probably notice it now, unless it just dies in one bullet like all the rest of the guys will. And they probably will die in one bullet, to be honest. So that's a good point of view. Definitely could tone down the visuals a little bit. That's not really what I was looking for feedback-wise, though. I was kind of looking for, like, how do you feel about, like, the stats and all that, but that's still helpful. So, moving on to the next one, we got Chadwick. Chadwick is going to say, oh, he's got a long comment, so let's see. So, I was asking for feedback. Make Eximus take 25% strength of channeled CCs like Gloom, and 25% duration of stuns like a Naros, and sleep CCs like Sleep Arrow. Okay, I already feel like I'm not going to be going along with this, but we'll keep reading. That will more or less fix them being in massive pain, but still keep them the enemy that we should focus on taking down as fast as you can. Also, the Eximus units should have more of some kind of weak point, which would help deal with them when we do not have much firepower as normally. Something like a Nox glass helmet. I will definitely say that Nox Eximus is kind of goofy right now. It's like, this dude has crazy DR, like the helmet needs to be shot too. Now, I'm not saying it's a problem, but so my point of view on this is like, I am a eight-year veteran of this game, okay? I have everything in the game. I have God Roll Rivens. I have, really good builds. I know how to mod things properly. Like, that's my point of view here. So any, like, of the challenge aspect of it is basically, I'm not the best person to ask on there because as you can see in the background gameplay, I'm just blasting everything away like they're nothing. And I mean, you can do that too, but people who are MR32 with everything and good Rivens are kind of like the very, very deep end of, player progression. So that kind of thing, I might have a little bit of a jaded view on it, to be honest. But I don't think that making these Eximus stunnable or even slowable is really the right call because, I mean, I know he's just picking random numbers. He had 25%. Gloom slow is 95% at max. So, and I'm pretty sure multiple Glooms from other players stacked together. So it would just be stupid. They would just be back to normal. They'd be permanently slowed. I don't think making stuns on them is going to be a good idea either because that's what DE wants to prevent. They don't want people to just be able to constantly perma-stun all the enemies. That's why they added the Eximus overguard. Now, I do think that something that to make CC actually not completely worthless against them would be a good call. So here's an idea. Since CC works after overguard is gone, how about CC abilities will, instead of like stunning the Eximus while overguard's active, it will start removing overguard. So for example, you could take Vauban, currently being not very good against Eximus with overguard, making him very good, where every tick of CC, let's say like, there's like 20 ticks per second of overguard. Let's say every tick of CC is going to remove like 2 to 5% of overguard, depending what type of CC it is. So let's say every second you're in Gloom, that's removing like 5% overguard. It's not worthless. It's actually helping. Gloom doesn't usually deal damage, but you could make it where where CC abilities actually are damaging overguard. I think the lore, there's no real lore reason why these guys are immune to abilities, but we're just going to move on past that. And like, yeah, things like, so you throw on a Vauban Vortex, it'd be constantly trying to stun the overguard, but since they have overguard, instead of be damaging it. So you could actually use Vauban's Vortex to soften up Eximus and get them to a stunnable state quicker. So that's something you could do, but let's continue reading his comment. Make puncture damage match up against the overguard. That would be great, making some weak point. There's an Eximus right there. Pretty much was the same as a normal enemy. But yes, I've always said puncture procs should be more useful in this game. So maybe, yeah, an Eximus affected by puncture procs takes like multiplicative. Yeah, how about that? Puncture procs are a new type of viral for overguard. So if you have viral, would still work. So if you want to destroy an Eximus instantly, you run a viral puncture setup with high status chance. You will basically just one-shot the overguard after that. So these are ideas that I'm just thinking of on the fly. But yeah, a big complaint has been my CC abilities are useless now. Now, I think saying they're useless in general is a bit of an exaggeration because, as you can see in the gameplay, most of these guys are just normal enemies. And the funny thing is, even the Acolytes can still be crowd controlled. You can use Ensnare in an Acolyte. You can use Magus Locked on an Acolyte. Eximus are probably harder than Acolytes for the most part. Now, I know this one looks like he's pretty tanky, but I believe this Eximus is in Gloom, and they sometimes get more tanky when they're affected by Gloom. So, hey, maybe they could do that for the normal Eximus too. So good comment by Chad. Let's move on to another one here. We've got Blitz Chaos. And they're saying instead of making Eximus completely immune to CC, have it so that CC abilities strip overguard. Yeah, see exactly. My suggestion is basically exactly what Blitz Chaos said. So it wouldn't. And that look at how this is a highly upvoted comment. Blitz Chaos has been a long-term watcher of the channel, I believe. So yeah. So make it where CC abilities strip overguard over time. Maybe depending what type of CC it is. So slows are only going to remove like 1% per second, but stuns are going to remove like 10% per second because stuns are like, not as constant. I don't know. Like that's something that's definitely a good idea, and I think they could maybe potentially utilize that. So we went over a couple responses here. Basically, people are mixed feelings on it. They like the fact that there's more challenge. At least some of these people do. But they don't like how CC is useless. They don't like the visual effects. So here's my point of view on it now. I think we've gone over a couple responses. I don't want this video to be super long. So here's my point of view on what they could do to make overguard potentially less of a pain. So I'm showing you Steel Path rivened up like crazy gameplay, okay? Like I am geared out of my mind in this game. But this Eximus rework is affecting new players as well. If you think about it, they don't really set you up for success in this game. As a new player, you pick your starter frame, you pick like the bow, the normal bow, the Mark 1 bow, or the Mark 1 Skana, or whatever it's called, and then you pick the Bratton or the Paris, and then you do like the intro quest. There's actually a junction here that says you need to kill like 5 Eximus. I think it might be on Venus or Mercury. Yeah. Defeat 5 Eximus units. To get the Mercury, you don't even have the Boltor at this point. They're giving you the Boltor blueprint, and they're expecting you to kill 5 Eximus. Unless you're getting carried, that's going to be pretty hard for new players, if in my assumptions. I know I haven't been a new player in 8 years, but the fact that we're rocking the Mark 1 Bratton to take down Eximus, here's my idea. So if you've ever done a Nightmare mission in this game, you might know that like there's certain tiers of planets as far as the game's concerned. So all these Nightmare missions, like they look like they're the same, but they're not. So for example, the early planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and then like Mars. Those are considered low-tier planets. There's special Nightmare mods that only drop on these Nightmare missions on these planets. And then like there's mid-tier like Ceres. I don't remember exactly which planets are which, but then there's eventually high-tier planets like Pluto, Eris, Sedna, and like the Void and all that stuff. My idea is I don't personally have a problem with the CC immunity. So I'm just going to go ahead and give my viewpoint as a geared out player. Make it where the early game planets, so for example, Mercury, Venus, Earth, blah, blah, blah. Those planets, the Eximus on those planets do not have overguard. Maybe let them still have the abilities, but DE does not put a proper tutorial in this game for modding, so we have to pretty much just baby them. Make it so Earth, Mercury, Venus have no overguard on Eximus. Keep the abilities because they look really cool, but let's ease the players in. They're not geared out. They don't have good mods. They've got like probably damaged Fletchet on their build, okay? So tier 1 planets, non-Steel Path, so on Fissures and Steel Path, they'd be normal Eximus with overguard and all of their abilities in DR. But for base star chart, first couple planets, basically easy Eximus. Still visually awesome, like the new effects and all that, but easier for new players that don't have a proper tutorial or any mods leveled up. Less frustration, less like this game is like why they just set me up for failure. This guy has like way more health than my pathetic gun can even do. So then as you're progressing through the star chart doing more quests, let's say you get to Ceres. Ceres is a mid-tier planet. They give them overguard when you start on Ceres. And now that's like, okay, well, I'm starting to get a little bit. I'm starting to understand this game a little bit more. I'm getting some mods. I have a corrosive build. Finally, I watched Gaz TTV's YouTube channel, and he told me to put corrosive in my gun. So here I am with corrosive in my gun, killing these Eximus. Now they're it's a power progression kind of thing. So we've gotten past Ceres. We're moving on. Medium tier planet, medium tier planet, medium tier planet. Then we get to like Neptune or Pluto. This is when DE is like, okay, now you must be good. You must get good, even though the star chart's not over. So when you start getting to this planet, then you make it like full power Eximus, like the Eximus you would deal with on the current build of the game. And that would mean like they have like their overguard, they have their abilities, they have their DR, maybe even up the spawn rate a little bit. I'd appreciate that because Eximus actually feels like a real enemy for once, unlike the fodder ants I just squish all the time with my Zar. So that's kind of like what I'd suggest, and like at that point, it'd be like, okay, well, I'm not locked out of doing Earth missions. Like, if you like the way that the Earth planet looks, but you want to fight the high-level Eximus there, that's what the Steel Path is for. That's what fissures would technically be for, because in my head, this idea that I'm thinking of, you would make it where you're not going to just be able to cheese an Earth fissure because the Eximus aren't overguard there. Now, let's not get it twisted here. I did a lift fissure the other day, and I've been playing so much Steel Path. Those enemies were like level like 20, and it just felt like I was like ripping through paper, like even more than usual, even though I feel that way on the Steel Path most of the time. So yeah, fissures would have overguard and full power. Steel Path, of course, would have overguard and full power. I'd say maybe give CC immunity to acolytes or something like that, or give overguard to acolytes, because acolytes are really feeling like a joke now. I think it might partially be their AI is kind of bugged too. Like, I've been fighting a bunch of acolytes just standing there taking all the damage, and I have them moving. I had an acolyte running down the hallway, not attacking anybody, and just getting like fired on by everybody. It's just the Steel Path. I don't know. Like, we made plenty of videos about the Steel Path is not properly utilized. Steel Path fissures win, like straight up. Like at this point, I want Steel Path fissures more than most things, even crossplay a little bit. So hope you guys found this video interesting. The community's viewpoints on this are mixed. There's lots and lots of voices, and I feel like my idea would let basically everyone be happy, besides people who are fully geared out and still complaining. If you're fully geared out and still complaining, maybe you should go do a lift fissure. If the enemy's level 20, you'll probably still be able to one-shot it with your build that you're stubbornly not wanting to change. So, yeah, I mean, the big thing here is like they've made these guys so much tankier. Most, like, if you want to like fight the high-level enemies, you basically need to start playing like the YouTubers have been the whole time. You know, like rolling guard, viral procs, slash procs, good setups like armor strip. That's pretty much what they're pushing. That's been a you know, you could elect to run that. It wasn't like a required playstyle before, but it's starting to feel more and more required. I started using the shield getting decaying dragon key for a reason, guys. It's because everyone else was doing it. I wanted it to be easy too. But the other reason was that they made it harder. The Eximus units are definitely stronger. That fire pillar ain't no joke. The shield generator Corpus Eximus ain't no joke. Like, that thing is cool. So maybe some more counter ability and like some tactics. You can counterplay tactics like dodging the fire wave, make the fire wave really like illustrated when it's going to happen, and things like that. So I'll see you guys in the next video. I'll be live on Twitch later tonight. And yeah, more videos coming out every day. We'll have some more build videos coming out soon too, because I've been kind of slacking on those. And it's mostly because I don't want to make a video on the Hespar. The Hespar is really bad. Oh well, we'll make it anyway. Peace.